All right, jumping into the learning outcomes, we're going to go over a bit of history. It's not that important, but it's good that you have the knowledge. We'll go over what HTML is, the structure, the head tag, and its elements, as well as three HTML elements. If you're new, three is more than enough. We will go over the rest of them later. But for now, three. All right. In 1989, Tim Berners-Lee invents the World Wide Web while at CERN. The concept included HTML as a language to create and view hypertext documents through a web browser. Now, it took a year until 1990 before Berners-Lee develops the first web browser, and it's also called World Wide Web, which was later renamed to Nexus. And with this came the first version of HTML. In 1993, the Mosaic web browser is released, which popularized the World Wide Web. HTML tags and specifications are still informal, but more structure is being discussed. In 1994, HTML 2.0 came out, which formally specified uh, a standard which include more core HTML features. However, it was quite barren still. Now, in between HTML2 and HTML3 in 1995, when HTML 2.0 came out, they formally specified a standard, but also CSS came out. Now, in 1997, HTML 4.0 came out, and this was published by W3C, which is a consortium made by Tim Berners-Lee, and this was later followed by HTML 4.01 that came out in December the same year. These versions emphasize the separation of content and presentation using CSS and include enhancements for forms, internationalization, and scripting. In the year 2000, Internet Explorer and Netscape were the two biggest browsers, and because of this competition between them, created an issue where there were browser specific tags, and this caused a discussion where some tags would work in some browsers, say Internet Explorer, but it wouldn't work when you moved over to Netscape. If we skip a couple of years ahead, we end up in 2008, and this is where HTML5 is introduced. Now, HTML5 introduced new features addressing many of the new multimedia requirements of the modern web applications, but it didn't take until 2014 before W3 recommends HTML5 as the standard web development language. Now, this marks a great milestone for HTML, as this meant that developers now know that HTML5 is here to stay, and it's actually worth learning. 2019, they came out with the HTML Living Standard, which meant that from now on there won't be any more revisions to HTML5, but rather it will keep living and getting updated as we go. So there won't be an HTML6. Now, if we move over to actual code, let's go over some HTML and the structure. And we will begin this with the doc type. So every single HTML document begins with the greater or smaller sign, followed by an exclamation point, the keyword doc type, and followed by HTML. This specifies to the browser that the file it is reading is an HTML page, and they should treat it as such. Older versions required a DTD or document type definition, which meant that the beginning part, the doc type in HTML, is the same, but then you have a reference to a document type definition to verify that your HTML file is of the correct version. Now, the doc type is then followed by an HTML lang. The HTML tag is the main container, or is considered the root of an HTML document, and it also includes an attribute called lang. This specifies the language or the main language of the website. And these are in the form of language codes, so two letters, EN for English, SV for Swedish, FRDEAR, etc. After the HTML tag, the element inside that is the head tag. Now, the head tag contains all machine readable information, or as we know it, the metadata. This is everything from the title to the description to including things like CSS links as well as scripts. Now, if we look at what is inside the head tags, we find the title, which is the title of that page, as it sounds. Now, the description is not a description tag, it's a meta tag with the name describing what it is. So in our case, the name is a description, and then the content is the actual description. So our content in this case is Lecture 3, Introduction to HTML. The link tag, which we haven't used or won't be using for a little while until the next lectures, the link tag is used to import external CSS scripts, and the script tag, kind of sound like it sounds, is used to import external scripts. You can also inline the scripts, however, it is not recommended. Now we get to the fun part, the body. The body is like an atomic body where the main content of the web page is. Now, some of the elements that we'll be using are also called tags are the header tags, the paragraph tags, and the link tags. Now, all the tags open with the smaller greater sign, and the closing end of it, as you can see on the end, uses a forward slash. Now, the header tags are H1 through H6. They mark different sizes, but it's also important for search engines as they rank the websites based on whether or not you've used the correct tags. Another thing to mark or note is that users tend to skim by heading. So the same way you would read an article and skim through it depending on the titles, users tend to skip through a website reading the title. So if you have titles that are of the incorrect sizes in the wrong places, then the users might be confused by that. We follow along to paragraph tags, and paragraph tags are denoted by the P, and they contain major blocks of text. So say if you wanted to write a title, you would use an H1 tag, but if you want to write a body or a paragraph, you would use the paragraph tag. Something to note is that paragraph tags have a blank line before and after each P tag. So if you have two P tags after each other, they will end up underneath each other. Followed by links. Now, links are widely used on websites because if you go to a website, you would want to go to the subsequent pages or to a different website, and that's where we use A tags. The A tags have three different attributes that are used. The href, which is the reference to wherever you are pointing to. You got the target, which specifies whether the link that you have clicked should be opened in the same tab, if you should open a new tab or a new window. You can also link tags inside other elements, which means, say, if you want a picture of a duck to be clickable, you can have the image and you can surround that by an A tag that goes to, say, duck.com. To a bit of code. And I hope at this point that you guys have Visual Studio Code installed. And if you don't, please go ahead and download it. It's the IDE that I'm going to be using. Feel free to use your own IDE. But if you do and you encounter issues, I might not be able to help you. I will try my best, but I can't guarantee anything. The first step would be to create a new folder. So we can press open folder here, and it will take you to your Explorer. Create a folder. In this case, I called mine Lecture 2. You can name it whatever you want. And then step 2 is actually creating a new file. I used Control N as a shortcut to create this file, but it also works by going to File, New Text File, or New File. Once you've done this, you want to save the file, and you want to give it a name. The most common one is index.html. Now, the HTML part is what specifies to the browser that this is an HTML file and that it should treat it as such. Otherwise, it will read it as a plain text file. All right. Now that we are here, we have to begin by adding those mandatory tags that we were talking about. The first one being doc type. Now I forgot the exclamation point. So doc type like this. You specify that it's an HTML tag. This is then followed by the HTML tag that looks like something like this. And if you guys remember, this is where we would surround or include the language attributes. In our case, our website is in English by default, so this is what we want. Now, if you just give me 1 second, I just gotta open another window for myself. There we go. Oh, my computer is running a bit slow, so just give me 1 second. Let's see. Okay. After this, we want to include our head tag. If you guys remember, this is where we include everything that is a meta tag. And the first meta tag that we want to add is our title. What do we want our title to be? That's up to you. It should be describing the page in some sort of way. So in our case, let's call it Lecture 2. Introduction, or let's keep that away. Lecture 2 like this. The second tag we want to add is our meta tag. And if you are using VS Code, you will notice that it gives you these emit abbreviations, which lets you generate some things that you would like that you don't have to type by default or by hand. So our meta tag, we can have a description or a name. And this is introduction to HTML. Cool. This means that if we, oh, and you can't see this. Let me see if I can get this to work real quick. Let's see. Oh. Bear with me one moment. Sure. Let's see, window capture. All right. If we look at the browser window here, you can see that at the top, the first bar that we have says Lecture 2, or the first tab. If we went back here and we changed it, so instead of lecture, we said sample title, and we reload the page, that would also be reflected at the top in the tab. After this, we want to have our body tag. And this is where we include the main content. Let's start by creating an h1 tag, which specifies a header 1. Oh, you can't see it, can you? My bad. Let me redo it. Let's see here. We create a body tag, and in this body tag goes an h1 tag. Now, this is our header. So let's do welcome to lecture 2. And if we were to head back over to our browser here, and we reload the page, we get a title, welcome to lecture 2. Now, we can go ahead and add some subheadings if we want. So our h2 tag says bio. Let's just create a small bio. You can see that it's slightly smaller, signifying that it's a subheading. And now we want to write a bit of text. Let's see. Oh, let me move this window over here. That way you can see the code at the same time. We have a bio tag. Now we want to write a paragraph. And to do that, we use the p tag. Now, I am lazy and doing extra work is never really useful. So instead of writing sample text myself, I will generate it using this website called lipsum.com. Here you can generate lorem ipsum text, which is used for sample. It's in Latin, so it's okay if you don't understand it. I don't either. Cool, we have pasted it into our p tag, and so if we go over to our website and we reload it, we now have a paragraph. Is everybody following along so far? If you're not, please let me know and I'll explain it as best I can. Cool. So this is our first page. We made our first page. It's called sample title. Wow. And we have a title, we have a subheading, and then we have a paragraph. Now, a page is much more than just a paragraph and a header, right? But let's add another one. Let's go about me. It's gonna signify another subheading, and here I can say hello. I am a 25-year-old lecturer at HKR, and now that is weird. And we add another p tag, and we say click the link below to go to my profile. And now you may sit here and go, oh, well, I can't click any of this, so it doesn't really matter. Nothing happens. And, well, you're right. We have to add our A tag, or our anchor tag, as it's called. As you can see, it autofilled with href, because a link that doesn't go anywhere or that doesn't do anything is a redundant link, and so you wouldn't want it. Here, we can specify an entire URL, like say www.hkr.se, and then inside or in between the starting tag and the ending tag, we include whatever text that is going to show up. Oh, my bad. I will get that fixed. Give me 1 second. Let's do this. Does that make it better? Can you see all the tags now? The text for the p tag is not that important, but as long as you can see the rest of the code. Cool. Everything that goes in between the starting and the ending tag is whatever is clickable. This could be text, so you can write click me, and if we head over to our browser and reload, now we have a blue button or a blue text with an underline that signifies that this is a link, it is clickable, and if we click this, well, it didn't work. Why didn't it work? Let's see. Most likely because I didn't include the protocol that we're using. And so if I do this and we click it now, wow, we got to hkr.se. You made your first clickable link. Good job. But most of the time, when you have a link on a website, you don't want to link to a different website. You want to link to a different page on your website. And so how would we do that? Well, we would start off by creating another file. So each page or each file, HTML file, is a page in your browser, or in your website, sorry. Let's create a new file and let's save it. Let's call it profile.html. It lays in the same folder as the other HTML file, and I will show you the significance of that. Now, when generating HTML files, it's always good that you know how the structure looks, so it's good if you practice on your own. But as we are developers and we don't want to do extra work, VS Code has this beautiful Emmet abbreviation again. So HTML:5, and if you press tab here, it will create the most commonly used tags and the structure. Now you can delete the viewport tag as you don't know about it yet. And you can delete this meta tag as well for now, as we will go over that later. Now we have the basic structure that we have in our index, but it is blank. You can see how this works by going into your browser, and you see how you have a path to wherever your folder and file is. If you replace the index.html with profile.html, you'll get to your new page, but it is blank. So let's go ahead and navigate back to our index, and let's put something in our profile page. Let's put an h1 tag signifying a header. Let's say my profile. Let's add a p tag with my name, and let's say hello. It's just so we have something in the page so we can see it. But how do we get to this page? Well, you don't specify the entire URL to the page. Instead, we use what's called a relative link. And the way a relative link works is you aim it at, or you target a file either in the same folder or in a folder that is one step up or one step down, and I'll explain what I mean by that. But since these two files, the index.html and the profile.html, are in the same folder, we can just specify profile.html like so. And if we reload our page and we click the link that we have now, click me, we should come to our profile. Great. Let's go over to our profile.html file. Oh. If it does get blurry, please do let me know, and I will pause for a couple seconds for it to catch up. It might be my connection. It also might be my solution for how I'm showing the screen. So please do let me know. I will pause and wait for it to clear up. Is there anything that you guys missed that you would like me to go over again, since the screen was blurry? Okay, cool. Now that we're on our profile page, we want to be able to get back to our index page. And so let's create another link. Oh, that didn't work. In this case, in our profile page, and we will link it to index.html. Now, you will notice that I intentionally misspelled it. So indie.html. And if I didn't put a text here, go back. Let's see, back. Reload the page, we have our go back button. But since the href is mislabeled or mistargeted, if I click it, you will get to a page that is made by the browser that says couldn't access the file. It's either moved or it doesn't exist. It doesn't know what to do. So it is very important that you make sure that your references are correct, because otherwise it will not render properly. If we reload the page, we click. Now, all of a sudden, we can go back and forth between our two HTML pages. Now, it's fine that we have the two HTML files in the same folder right now because, well, there's only two of them, so there's not that many to keep track of. But say you were making a page that had 500 pages. You might not want to have them all in the same folder. So let's say we create a new folder in here, so a subfolder, and in here we call it account pages. And we move our profile into there. And so if we take a look at it in the Explorer here to the left, you can see that the index is in our root folder, or it's in our lecture 2 folder. And our profile.html is then inside a folder called account pages. And so if we go to our browser now and we try to, we reload the page first of all, and then we click me. Now it can't access our page, but It's in the project folder, so how come it's not finding it? Well, it's because we specified that it's supposed to be in the same folder by not saying anything at all. And so if we want to find profile, we have to specify the path to it, or the folder. We can do that by having a /, and you can see Visual Studio is quite nice, so it actually fills it in, but you have to specify the path, in our case account pages, followed by another /, and then we have the HTML page. Now, if I reload the page and I press click me, oh, it didn't find it. How come? Bop, bop. Ooh, it's there we go. That's my bad. You don't need the first /. That's on me. But here, now you can see that if we're on our index page, we press click me, it can find the account pages, and then it found our profile.html. Issue is now when we press go back, it won't find the page at all. So how do we fix this? Well, in CSS or in HTML and many other languages, we use dots and /s to represent going into a folder or going out of a folder. So in our case, the index HTML relatively to our profile.html is one folder up. To go out one step, we use ... followed by the /. So this means that we're in our profile.html currently. We move one step up into account/pages. We move to lectures 2, and here is index.html. So if we reload our page, let's go back here and press go back. Now we can navigate back and forth between our pages, even though they are not in the same folder. I did talk a bit about, let me see what page I'm on. I'm on the index page. All right. I did talk a little bit about the target tag and what the target tag signifies. And the most common is to either leave it blank, and it will work in the same way that you saw. It will just navigate on the same tab, on the same window, to the page that you're linking to. The other very common one is _blank. _blank makes it so when I click it, it will open my link in a new tab. And so if you see here, when I'm clicking click me, instead of just navigating to it, it is navigating to it, but it's also opening it in a new tab. If you look at the top, it says document at the top. But if I go back, it just takes me back to our index page because I didn't specify on that anchor tag that it had to be blank. Rather, it acts as normal and it just goes back. It doesn't close the tab either. All right. Let's see. I think that's it for the tags that you're learning. There's 3 of them, and if you have never done this before, there's the doc type and the HTML and the head and the meta and the body, so it can be quite overwhelming. So let's just cut it there. We've learned about our header tags. We've learned about our paragraph tags, and we've also learned about our anchor tags. And so what I want you guys to do now for the rest of the lecture, and that is until 12, I believe. If you head over to the course page, let me pull the window in a bit. There you go. If you go to the lecture today, Introduction to HTML, at the bottom of it, there is tasks. Feel free to do the tasks. And if you and I will stay in Zoom. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask. If you guys want to talk in private, or if you have a question that you don't feel comfortable asking in front of everybody, let me know, and I'll move you to a breakout room, and we can talk there. But with that said, that's it for me teaching you guys something today. And if there's nothing else, I wish you guys an amazing day. I will also stop the recording there, just so you guys know.